All this started happening a month ago. I live in Ambridge, Pennsylvania, which is about 30 minutes north of Pittsburgh, PA. It's a really industrial kind of city. Everything's old and dated looking. It's mostly coal, steel mines, and construction places. I moved there last year, went through a divorce, found this apartment that is a really old building. It's really small and right off of one of the main streets in Ambridge. I took it out of desperation. It was either that or move to Georgia with my family. I wanted to stay in PA. My daughter's here. I move into this apartment. Nothing much really happens for the first year. A month ago, I go to pick my daughter up from daycare. We're about halfway home at this point. My daughter starts telling me about this dream she has where she's at her mom's house. These bad guys are opening up doors to her bedroom and the door that leads to her mom's room. These bad guys approach her, cut her face and her mom's face. I knew to take this kind of seriously, this dream that she was having. I knew it was more than just a nightmare. I've always been a spiritually sensitive person. My family is sensitive to it. I asked her, what do these bad guys look like? One is a ghost and another one is a monster. That really disturbed me. Just hearing that my 3.5-year-old daughter is having these visions, that she's seeing this happen. I didn't really have a response at the moment. I was awestruck. I changed the subject, but she just talked about it so nonchalantly. It just rolled off her tongue. I knew that this was something that a child her age can't make up on their own. I brought it up to her mom. Her mom kind of seemed to dismiss it. She's more of a skeptic. She thinks that it could just be her imagination or she's having bad dreams. When I told my mom told me that I should do a cleanse of the apartment. She agreed with me. She agreed that there was no way for her to make that up. She thinks it could have been some kind of malevolent, demonic entity trying to attach itself to her. Those malevolent entities like to attach themselves to people who are in really vulnerable moments, times of despair or trauma, especially to children, because children are naturally more perceptive to the paranormal. A child of divorce seems like a good target for malevolent spirits. So I get her home that night, and it was almost instantaneous. The air in my apartment felt heavy. I live on the 3rd floor, the very top floor of this little apartment building. I didn't feel any tension or negativity until we got into my apartment. It was heavy, it was tense, it felt like any positivity was just being drained from it. I could feel myself and my daughter, we both seemed to be getting angrier a lot quicker, easily frustrated and agitated. I kept having this looming anxiety the whole time. It kept lingering. Like that saying when you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. That's what it felt like. I was in that anxious anticipation. I knew something was there, that something could happen. A few days go by of that feeling. Nothing really happens until one night I put my daughter in bed. I do my nightly routine. I stay up for a little, play some video games, take a shower, all that stuff to wind down for bed. I get in bed, start drifting off to sleep, start going into the onset of sleep paralysis, which I never experienced before. I do have sleep apnea. I have a feel for what sleep issues are like. I used to wake up a lot at night, but as soon as I got myself in bed, I was laying on my back while the CPAP started going. I start closing my eyes to drift to sleep. All of a sudden, my limbs start feeling really stiff and heavy, almost to the point of numbness. I wasn't in control of my body for a bit. I thought of paranormal stuff and the association with sleep paralysis. Maybe if I can muster some kind of strength to move my body, I can break the sleep paralysis before it gets too bad. If I start trying to move one of my arms, I'm able to grab the closest thing to me, my phone. That grounds me, and do my best to stay calm and not to panic. I'm able to sleep fine after. A few nights pass, and no other sleep paralysis incidents like that happen. But that tense feeling, that anticipation, was still all there. I was so anxious. If my daughter woke up in the night crying, I would wake up, but I would just be frozen in fear. Part of me in my gut had this thought, if I go in there, what's going to be in there with her? I'm able to get up, I go in, and I check on her. I see nothing. I'm able to calm her, tell her everything's okay, and go back to sleep. I'm still left in that state of fear of whatever's in there, in that apartment with us. A week after the first sleep paralysis incident, I put her to bed, did my own thing for a couple hours, went to bed. I wake up, and I have no idea what time of night it is. I didn't check my phone. I naturally woke up from a dream. I look over from the foot of my bed, and on the wall to my right of that door frame is a shadow figure. My room's pitch black. It was blacker than that black. Absence of light completely. It had no discernible facial features. I couldn't see eyes, limbs, or anything. It just looked like a silhouette of someone's shadow being projected. I could tell it was looking at me. I just had that feeling. It was about the height of a child, probably 3.5, no taller than 4 feet tall, just staring there at me. My daughter's bedroom door is closed. I just knew what it was. I knew it was something malevolent. I knew it was something that wanted to feed off of whatever negativity there was. Instead of speaking or trying to turn on the light and cast it out, I chose to ignore it and not show any kind of fear. I've always thought that if you feed into the sense of fear that they're trying to project onto you, it makes them stronger. I ignore it. I do my best to go back to sleep. When I wake up at my normal time, 6 a.m., to start getting my daughter ready for daycare and myself ready for work, it's gone. There's no trace of it whatsoever. Never would have even known it was there if I hadn't seen it myself. No other real encounters happened for a little while. I was working on the process of moving in with my girlfriend. The next weekend that I didn't have my daughter, and she was at her mom's, my girlfriend and I go to a flea market together. I like to look at antiques, old video games, and try to restore them. There happens to be a medium there. My girlfriend and I get to talking to her, making small talk and learning more about her profession. I go back after that, talk to the medium alone, tell her about my daughter's dreams and the kind of happenings that are going on. She gets this concerned look on her face, says, you need to cleanse, like, now. She confirmed there's no way that a child her age has the kind of imagination to come up with what she's seeing in that level of detail. It was something strictly evil that was trying to attach itself to her, and it wanted to follow her from house to house. She suggested that both myself and her mother should cleanse our respective houses. I buy sage and a smudging feather off of her. She gives me a little cork bottle of holy oil for free, tells me to anoint my door frame to my apartment with the shape of a cross using the oil, and to recite the Lord's Prayer while I'm doing it. And I'll do the same thing with my daughter's forehead the next time that I saw her. I told my mom that I'd spoken with a medium. She said the medium was right, that after I do the cleanse, to close all the windows again and put salt at the doorway and on the windowsills to act as a seal to keep the bad spirits from coming back in again. The next day, my girlfriend and I, after her kid goes down for his nap, we go to my apartment and get ready to do the cleanse. First, we saged ourselves once we got in to keep any negativity from attaching onto us, to keep the spirits at bay. We put the sage in the dish and take the smudging feather, and I start walking around the apartment in a clockwise direction, just like the medium suggested that I do. I keep saying this prayer to cast out all negative spirits and energy, to bring love and peace back into the house. I'm making the circle around the apartment. I get done with my daughter's room. As soon as I go into the living room and start doing the cleanse, the front door that we left wide open, slammed itself shut out of nowhere. Loud slam with some force. I asked my girlfriend if she shut the door while I was cleansing. She tells me no, but I just saw it close itself. We finish the cleanse. We do the anointing with the holy oil, say the Lord's Prayer. We even anointed my daughter's door frames to her room just to be safe, and left after that. I didn't go back to that apartment until the next day when I had to pick my daughter back up from daycare. I put the oil on her forehead, say a prayer. She asks me what I'm doing, and I tell her this is to keep all negative things away from you, to keep you safe and happy. She goes, "Oh, okay. That's good." Goes off on her own thing. Ever since then, there's never been an encounter. I haven't heard my daughter talk about nightmares or anything. The overall tension in the air, that whole feeling of negativity, has gone away. It seemed like it worked. Then I found out a couple things after the cleanse was done. Before the cleanse happened, whenever my daughter would wake up in the middle of the night, her covers would be pulled off her or on the floor, or her stuffed animals that she slept with would also be on the floor. She has a toddler bed that has a guardrail by her side that she sleeps. If those were to fall, she would have to throw them, which maybe she did in her sleep too, but it is interesting to see that stopped happening after the cleanse. I do think that whatever was in there may have been doing that to mess with her in some way, or to get to her, try to get attention. I did research on my apartment over in Ambridge. When I looked up the house history, I couldn't find anything on anyone who died there. I did find out it was built in 1914, but it's almost 110 years old and is sited right next to a funeral home. There's actually 2 parking lots. There's one parking lot at the building for the funeral home specifically, and another parking lot for tenants. The combination of an old building and a really old, almost rundown city that happens to be next door to a funeral home just gives it a more creepy vibe and makes it seem like it could be more of a hotspot for paranormal things. I think it was something malevolent. I don't think it was a ghost at all. I don't think I've ever heard of or read anything about a ghost appearing that solid black of a mass. I have heard that usually demonic entities will appear as shadows that dark. And I have seen ghosts before too in the past. I've been able to make that mental comparison when I saw it. It was something evil or demonic trying to attach itself to my daughter, who had been going through the trauma that she had been going through in the past year. When I talked to my mom about it, she asked if her mom or I watch any scary movies while she's in bed, or maybe she hears stuff. I told her no, I would never watch anything like that when my daughter's around. My mom is a spiritual person. She's almost Wiccan, but she practices more the light side of it, healing, cleansing. She does talk to spirits, mainly my grandfather, her dad, that died a few years ago. When I told her about the cleanse that we were going to do to get rid of the spirit attacking my daughter and me, she brought out divination rods while I was on the phone with her. They're dowsing rods. People have used them to also talk to spirits. The concept that if you let go of the rods, the spirits will manipulate them and move them to kind of make signs. She brought out divination rods, started talking to my grandfather through them. Every time I started talking, she had me on speakerphone, the rods would point to me. I asked if my grandfather had seen her before in their old house when we used to visit after he died. They said yes. My mom asked if my grandfather would offer some kind of comfort or help protect my daughter and me to drive this bad spirit out. The rods were again pointing to yes. It did kind of bring a comfort and kind of relieve some of my anxiety, just knowing that even though I was going to my apartment to cast out something evil, potentially demonic, that I had help too on the other side in the form of my grandfather wanting to still watch over me and his great-granddaughter. It all stopped kind of suddenly and abruptly, like after the cleanse. She hasn't said that she's seen anything or had any dreams like that since.